Hello. Uh, I know it's been a bit, so starting off with saying sorry that I haven't uploaded in a long time. Not like there's many people that watch this, really anybody that watches this. Um, but I've said in the past how this whole vlog thing is more or less just for my own sanity. Uh, and I believe the last couple of things that I uh, left on were that I was struggling to find a job and I didn't really know what I was doing at the moment, uh, or where things were going. Uh, but I figured I'd put out an update today because today I had my first day at a new job that I genuinely feel like I might really enjoy later down the line. I mean, I enjoy it now currently. I just, during the whole learning process, I'm extremely nervous. So, I feel like I'm definitely going to love it a lot more later on. Um, Sorry, my forehead itches. I don't know if you can see that. My cat scratched me in the forehead. um, but regardless, um, so kind of where to begin. A couple weeks back, me and Lily decided we were going to go to the mall to just kind of hang out, maybe just de stress a tad. We were there for like two things, and then we decided we were going to stop by our usual like nerd game store that we usually go to, uh, which I'm going to remain nameless because I don't know the legality of mentioning stuff like that. I don't want to get in trouble. That's all I'm saying. Regardless, I keep saying that. No, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping everything above board and I don't lose my job for something stupid. But regardless, we were there, just kind of hanging out, looking at new stuff, and on a whim, like they never have like job hiring signs or anything like that anywhere in store because it's a mall, and they don't usually have those kinds of things. So I just asked if, for whatever reason, they might be hiring, and I got extremely lucky that at that moment they happened to be like just starting up a hiring process, and the manager happened to actually really like me. Uh, so yeah, we'd scheduled an interview for a couple of days ago, Wednesday, I believe, and I went in and basically I got there early, so I kind of just hung out with the manager for a little bit because she's actually a really cool person, which is honestly one of the few times that I've actually liked a manager uh, before actually like them being my manager or boss, whatever. Um, and yeah, like we ended up having a decently long conversation about D&D of all things. Because she basically like the store is mostly like board games and stuff like that, and D&D happens to be one of the things they deal in quite a bit actually. And I ended up having a long and very interesting conversation with her about a session she was doing, a session I've done, basically just like our history with D&D in general. And it was just it was a fun conversation. We finally get to the actual portion of like the interview, and I'm not obviously not going to go into anything specific, but one of basically like the two pretty much soul determining questions that were uh, basically like the determining factor in whether or not I got hired were: am I available on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Which, yeah, I don't really care when I work, so long as Thursdays are, at least I have the option for Thursdays. That's fine. And honestly, she kind of pushed the idea of Thursdays being my day off anyway. So Works out for me. Um, but yeah, so there was that. Um, and then the other question was basically like, what is your experience with board gaming and stuff like that, or you know what do you have experience in that's like relates to what they do, and she didn't even really ask that question when we got to the interview thing because I'd already kind of answered that with the conversation prior about D&D and stuff like that. And she was like, "Yeah, when that's like your opening line, I'm pretty sure that I was going to like you immediately." And that pretty much answered all of my questions that I actually had. I was like, "Okay, I don't think I've ever impressed anybody with D&D stuff before, but all right." Um, so yeah, that was fun. Um, but yeah, as I say, I had my first official day today. Well, official. It was a training day. I'm probably gonna be just having a couple of those, uh, most likely. But I unconsciously I didn't think too wisely as to when I was starting. Uh, Currently, I'm on as a seasonal employee, trying very, very desperately to get that full time position. So we'll see. I'd hate to hear at the end of the you know holiday season that you did good, um, but no, as I have high hopes. I feel like I'm impressing the management uh, pretty decently well already, with just my friendliness and my eagerness to learn and just be engulfed in this kind of just this environment, I guess, because I really do like board gaming, and I thought it was really odd, because it was odd because there's kind of like this weird circular logic to the universe, or at least that's what it seems like. So, when I was very, very young, I don't remember when, but I know I was in like an elementary school or something. I was in a school that they had like a gifted and talented course there because I've basically been in gifted and talented for a very long time. I don't know when I started, but during that course, they had us pretty much just like making board games. And I can't remember all of the details to it, but I remember at the time I was dealing with the transition to learning how to adjust to wearing glasses because it was like a year or two before that I had, been told I have astigmatism, really bad, and I had recently started wearing glasses, um, and during that time, I basically took everything that I was learning about astigmatism and just how the eyes work in general, and kind of incorporating them with this weird existential question that I've had forever, and kind of just made this board game that was apparently really fun, about eyes and how they work. There were little like things that were like I don't know, like information cards and whatnot, stuff about like rods and cones, and that's literally all I remember about that. But I remember it doing well, and I remember that it was just about the eyes. Past that, I don't know. But then I kind of started thinking like a little bit later in life, and again, this was also part of a gifted and talented thing, but in high school. Um, they basically just were like, while you're here in this classroom, find something to research and do that. Just research something. Be doing something productive. Don't just, use this class time as like a study hall, essentially. It was our time to discover something new, basically. And some other kids, did some really cool stuff. Some of them like designed robotics. Others were like learning to code with Java or whatever, other stuff like that. Um, somebody was really into like hauntings and stuff, and they decided to go into the paranormal activity stuff later, which I thought's really cool. I hope they're doing well now. Um, but yeah, me and a couple of buddies of mine decided we were going to research games, being like video games and board games in general, and it was actually kind of fun because we basically just spent a lot of the time just playing board games. Played a lot of Risk, like Stratego, stuff like that. You know, just a lot. We would take notes. Well, take notes. I'm gonna be honest. We were kind of just slacking off, but at the same time, like by the end of the year, we had to have something to present at a kind of gifted and talented convention thing that was basically just held in the school. And it was basically like, people could go around and see the kind of stuff that you were participating in and working on. And it was really interesting. I mean, I kind of got excluded out of our final project because I didn't have a computer. Basically, what the other guys decided to do is they designed a computer in Minecraft, which was interesting. But I wasn't technically savvy like that. I just wanted to play. Um, but while we were doing that, I had, along with them, of course, conceptualized a interesting idea for a board game. Um, I don't know how much I want to say about it because I have been wanting to actually make the game later in life. I just didn't know when or, really how to go about it. If I would have to ask them for, permission if I'm okay to go forward with this. Uh, and yeah, I never really knew. I don't really know in general what constitutes intellectual property. Seeing as how I think I wrote 90% of the game itself, I believe. I don't know. I just don't want to be like the Steve Jobs to several Wozniaks, if that makes sense. Um, but, you know, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. The fun part is when I do eventually get a working version of this game, I can take it into work and playtest it. And they're completely fine with that. Granted, I'm gonna likely have to be off the clock for that, but regardless, I can still go and actually playtest it and figure out if it's something people will actually enjoy, which sounds fun. Another thing that I can do, this is actually on the clock, I can eventually get scheduled to be a DM for D&D on certain days. I think it's like Tuesdays or something like that. But yeah, basically they do like the summer program thing every once in a while, and they'll ask that like people in the store do a DMing for a session, and I thought that was super cool. I've never DM'd myself, but I have a lot of experience with my buddy doing a lot of. He did a lot of homebrew. I'm not too savvy when it comes to 5e, but I think I have the book somewhere, so I'll have to read up on it, especially if I'm going to be working in a place that sells those things. So, um, but yeah, regardless, like if I do end up volunteering for that, which I would love to, um, they're completely cool with like doing homebrew or like 5e or the other versions of D&D, which I'm less savvy with. But yeah, I just thought it was really cool. Um, but with all that said, I just wanted to say that I'm really happy right now. These past couple of months have probably been some of the hardest that I've had in a while, um, and I definitely was owed a win. Because it's genuinely felt like we were slowly starting to slowly slip downhill financially. Um, and me finally actually getting a job means that we will at least be in the green. So, hopefully, you know, I can't exactly say how far in the green because I don't really know what my hours are going to be yet. I'm making minimum wage for California, so currently that's 15.50 an hour, which is fine. Like literally if I was making, I don't know, what was it? I was doing the math for this a couple of weeks back. Um if I was making like an extra $375 a month, we would basically be in the green. Or no, a week. No, every 2 weeks. My bad. So yeah, $375 every 2 weeks, we would be in the green, and I feel like I can definitely manage that doing this. That's seems more than acceptable. Um, it was funny though when I was putting down what I used to make for my previous job, because I did all the information stuff there. She actually had me do like the application form after already getting hired, which was funny. Um, and yeah, I was like, she was sitting like right there as I was writing down what I used to make at SpaceX, and she was just uh, like she just kept giving me like looks of like, you were making what, doing what? But I was like, yeah, I used to build and move rocket parts frequently, and deal with a lot of technical stuff. So you know some people would look at my new job as a step down. I'm looking at it as a lateral movement towards a bigger goal, a bigger long-term goal. As I've mentioned in the past, but will reiterate, I'm still building a business that is slowly gaining traction. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I can start actually doing really well with this. I actually have a decent amount of customers now. I mean, only a few of them actually kind of buy regularly, but it's whatever. I actually even talked to my brother about it, and he's possibly going to start buying some of like the energy drinks and whatnot, which I'm happy about. I actually like them, but you know, uh, and I have a couple of people who are at this point like wanting to be business partners. Like I didn't bring it up; they were just asking. So that's nice, honestly. Like I'm genuinely happy about that as well. Um, and I'm just at this point where like it feels like a fog is starting to clear, and I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. I realize I'm mixing analogies here, but regardless, I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I can finally see the path forward. I know exactly what I need to do. I have a general idea as to where I want to be by certain time periods, but you know, I have to start getting my first paycheck first. So we'll see how things go, and I might be updating a little more frequently. I know that I say that a lot, but I'm terrible. So um, yeah, I'm just happy. Um, so God, how do I end these? Uh, I, as always, peace.